Hello, welcome. I'm excited to
Hello.
be here for the live. I have Gabby, my friend, and yeah, I was just laughing. I was out in the sun finishing this like an hour ago, and I was in like the beating heat, so my brain is like summer brain. You know, when you go to the
Yeah.
pool, like it melts.
Oh,
So,
I'm sure. Yeah. Melts in the heat.
yeah, does that happen to you when you're out
Oh,
in
for
the
sure. Mm-hmm.
it's just like you start not thinking. So, but
Yeah.
this will be a good live because I have so many notes and stuff. So I'll be good for
Yeah.
the live. But I was trying to figure out how to post the like thing that we're live and it was a disaster. Anyway, if you want to introduce yourselves, I have Gabby's channel in my description. If you don't know her, I'm sure you do, but say hi.
Yeah. Yeah, my name is Gabby. My channel is Gabby Reads. I read a lot of mystery, thriller, horror stuff, and then I read a lot of romance as well. And I also have a book club called the Book Troop that Savannah's gonna be on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we're doing like another combo. I like when we do this where we just kind of like are on each other's book clubs in the same month because I feel like it
So,
somehow feels like it makes it easier to plan things or
oh
something.
yeah. Also, I have the book for tomorrow.
Oh,
Listen for the
perfect.
live. I already read it. I really like it. I should have left it as a surprise, but so anyway, I'm very excited for
Sweet.
tomorrow. It's at 2 CST, right? What time?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 12 p.m. PST and 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, 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 yes. So I was like, wait, what time is that for you?
Yeah.
But I'm excited for that. Let us know in the comments if you read this book. We always do like a non-spoiler section. So I think I'm gonna put that up. So if you haven't read the book already, don't worry. We will not get into spoilers until I warn you all. But let me know in the comments if you read it and what you rated it and how you read it. So like audio, physical, both. How did you read it, Gabby?
Yeah, I did both physical and audio. I was kind of going back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Did
Um,
you like follow along as you were listening, or was it like,
for most of it, yeah, I was mostly following along directly in it, but there was a few parts where I like wasn't really
yeah,
reading it directly.
I did the same thing only with like the Kindle edition of
Mm-hmm.
it. So I was like looking at it some more in the beginning, and then I
Mm-hmm.
just ended up listening because I like to start by seeing the names written and kind of like absorbing it that way, and then sometimes I can,
Right.
um,
Once you get the gist, it's like easier to like you can
mhm.
like multitask again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm excited to discuss Darling Girls. I hope you are feeling better, Gabby. Oh,
Thank
yeah, I
you.
was going to say, are you stuffed up right now?
I'm doing so much better now. I had a flu for like the last week that like
Oh
dude
my,
it was like the most sick I've been in like years. Like holy shit. But it was
oh my
awful, but
God.
I'm doing a lot better now.
I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize that. I'm really bad at Instagram. I've discovered
Oh,
about
no worries.
myself.
Yeah.
I like forget about Instagram, which I feel like is such a foreign concept to most people, but yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm glad
Oh,
you're
no
feeling
worries.
better now.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
so
the
glad to
flu.
feel human again.
My friend just got the flu, I think, and it's like weird because it's summer.
I know it's like something's going around right now because like there's a lot of people in my area who are like getting sick recently, and it's like I kept testing for COVID. It wasn't COVID, so I was like, what is going on? Like, and it was just some kind of flu. Like I don't know, but I had a fever for like 3 days, and it was
No,
persistent, and it was just like it was awful. So
oh my gosh,
it
that
was bad.
sounds like exactly what my friend has right now.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did see her, but I'm like hoping I don't get it. I saw her on Wednesday, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you for being here, though, and I'm
Oh,
glad
of
you are
course.
feeling better.
Yeah, I'm doing
Um,
better now.
good, good, good. Hello, hello. Just finished this last night, right in time for the live show. Hey, I
Perfect.
finished it like an hour before.
I know. I was like, well, Savannah just finished it like an hour ago.
I'm also the co-host for Ashley from Ashley's Little Libraries 24-hour horror-a-thon, and we were talking about that last night. I finished Listen for the Lie literally in the first sprint, and then I'm
Oh
like, on
my.
to Darling Girls.
Wow. So you started it last night too?
She's like, you're crazy. I was
That's
like, I know,
wild.
but like, what do you do if you're busy?
That's crazy.
I guess I could have like read it earlier in the month, but I usually don't like doing that because I like it being really fresh.
Yeah.
I just usually don't cut it like an hour before, but
Yeah.
very fresh thoughts. Hello. Wait, I read that. So sorry. Hi, Katrina. I'm about to drive home from work, but I gave this one 3 stars. Nice. Hello, hello. I gave Darling Girls 5 stars. I loved it. Nice. I listened to the audiobook. I read it physical. I read it audio, 3 stars. Did you like the audiobook? What were your opinions of it?
I really liked it. Yeah, I thought it was like easy. Like once I got the hang of it, I thought it was like really easy to like tell the characters apart, and like I thought
Yeah.
her voice was nice. Like it was a good time.
Yeah, sometimes with accents, I find it like harder to speed up, but
Me
this
too.
I got used to super fast. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't as much of a learning curve as like some, I feel.
Yeah, her accent wasn't like too strong.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I get it. Like once I looked at the words for like a few chapters, I was fine.
Yeah.
Audio, not sure if it's a 3 or 4. I always am so curious. I'm so curious what Gabby thinks because I know you did a reading vlog, but I
Mhm.
didn't watch it because I was like, I don't want to know. I like to find out in the live.
Yes.
So we're not gonna reveal our stars yet, but I read the audiobook and rated it 4 stars. I really liked it. I read both physical and audio. It was a 4. Nice. Hello. My mom is going through that right now too. Oh, the flu thing.
Yeah, that sucks.
It sucks. I didn't read this, but that's okay because I never plan to. I just really like y'all. Yeah, anyone's welcome. 3 stars for me. I saw the twist coming. Haven't read yet, but gonna tune in for a bit to see if I should read it. Ooh, okay.
Hi, Gab.
So, I have some questions over here. Have you read a Sally book before? And it's funny. We both did.
Yeah, I actually have. Yeah, we read at least one together last year. For the book club too, which was cool. I think I've read a total of 3 of her books now, including this one.
Oh, okay. So we read The Soulmate last year, and then what other one did you read?
And then I read, I think it's called The Good Sisters. I think is the one that I read. Or The Good Sister. And I think I really ended up liking that one. I think I gave that one 4 stars. Which is why I chose The Soulmate.
Yeah. So what did you give The Soulmate again? Do you remember?
I know. I can't remember. I think I gave it like 2 or 3 stars. I think I was like on the lower end, but
yeah, I think I gave it 4 stars, but I think part of that was because I was like packing to move and it was just an easy read, and I was like, yeah, I just like listening to it. I'm entertained. I'm not like bored.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to read more from the author, but I wasn't obsessed with it.
Right.
And it wasn't like, I don't know. It felt more like a drama, suspense, less like a thriller, I guess. Yeah. Where would you rate this book? I know that kind of gives away your ranking. Maybe you should just say your star rating before we answer.
I know. Do we want to get into ratings?
I'm scared.
Well, I don't know what you rated it either, so I'm scared. But for me, it was 4.5 stars. I really loved this.
Oh,
I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was almost a 5 star, and I can't even really articulate like why it wasn't exactly 5 stars. Like I don't have any critiques of it really, but like it was about a 4.5. Like that feels right for me.
Okay, I'm so glad you liked it because I liked it too, which is really exciting. I for some reason was like, is Gabby gonna like this? Like I thought you would, but then at the same time I was like, but what if she doesn't? I don't know.
Yeah.
I am probably going to give it a 4 star, but it could be a 4.5. Same with you. There's some things that I can't quite articulate why it's not fully a 5. Well,
right.
A 5 is, I'm so strict with my 5s now.
It's like a feeling. It's a feeling.
It is a feeling. So I didn't get the 5-star feeling, but I really, really enjoyed this book. And I was nervous. I was like, I have to fit this in such a short period. Like, I hope I like it. And then I ended up liking it, and it like wasn't, like I was enjoying my time reading it throughout the whole thing, which kind of goes on to like, what did you think of the pacing? Did you find it evenly paced? Or
I did. Like I really liked the way this book was paced because I liked how it was going like back and forth between present day and then like we'd get flashbacks, and I like that we would get I think we would get all 3 sisters' perspectives, right? Like I'm blinking now, but I think we got it. Like so I liked that it kept the story moving. Like I found the pacing to be really good because like it wasn't just like one point of view in like present day. It was like there was a lot going on. So I thought the pacing was good.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was interesting the whole time. There was no like dull point where I wanted it to pick up, and I was interested from the very beginning, which is something like sometimes with thrillers it can be a little slow in the beginning. So
Yeah.
I was happy that it was like, oh, like I'm intrigued.
Mhm.
Where would you rate it or rank it?
I know I think it's for sure like my favorite Sally Hepworth that I've read so
Ooh,
far. Yeah.
oh,
I know.
good.
It's
Okay.
exciting. Yeah. What
Same. I
about
mean,
you?
same. But I
Yeah.
just the soulmate, and now with this being, I don't know, like I like this significantly more than the soulmate. So I'm like,
Mhm.
well, I gave the soulmate 4 stars. Like this is the thing with stars.
Yeah.
Because like it doesn't really make sense even with your own, at least for me. I go back and I'm like, oh, that would not be a 4 star now, but
Mhm.
I don't know, I definitely liked it. Also, let
That's
us know in
awesome.
the comments like what you would rank this if you've read from this author, or if you would want to read more from the
Mhm.
author, because now I'm like, I have to try out the other books for sure.
Yeah.
um
Mhm.
this was my first book by her. Hated the soulmate. I was super skeptical about this.
Yeah.
This was definitely better than the soulmate, but it did disappoint me that it was so obvious what was going to happen in this one. I'm debating on breaking up with Sally Hepworth. Yeah, that's a question for like spoilers later on. Like, did you predict what happened? I guess we could answer it in like a non-spoilery way. Like, were you surprised? What
I
were
was
your
I was surprised. I did not see most of the shit coming at the end of this one. Like I don't know if I was just like reading with blinders on, but like I
Yeah,
did not see it coming. I was shocked.
I was I wasn't like shocked, but I really enjoyed that I didn't predict everything.
Yeah.
Like I did not. I thought I knew what was going on, and I think they want you to think you know, and then it like
Mhm.
flips it on its
Exactly.
head. So, um, I think I tried to read The Soulmate last year, couldn't get into it. I can't remember though. Yeah, that one had like a didn't have like a businessy kind of perspective, or like
Yeah, it was more like domestic too. It was more like husband and wife kind of like you know, you don't know if you can trust the husband and like was he cheating? And it was more like that kind of vibe, I think.
right. And it was slower. Like the stakes in a weird way weren't as high, which actually is interesting because in this
Mhm.
one, it's like you're learning a lot about the past. I realize we haven't even said what it's about.
I know. I was like, do you want me to give a
Sorry,
synopsis?
I just started talking about it. Yeah, if you want to kind of tell people what it's about if they don't know already.
Yeah, so synopsis for this one is that we're following these three foster sisters named Jessica, Nora, and Alicia, and they grew up in this foster care home together that was ran by this woman named Miss Fairchild, who is like the fucking worst. She's like a
Yeah.
super like emotionally abusive, gaslighter, toxic human who like made them feel like shit and kind of like made their childhoods hell.
Mhm.
And so we kind of follow these three sisters like 20 or 30 years in the future where they're all adults and they get a phone call from a detective that's like, oh, we actually found some human remains at this foster care home where you grew up, so like they want them to come back so they can interview them about what really happened. And you're kind of trying to figure out, you know, through present day and then through, you know, flashback chapters of their childhood, you kind of see what happened when they were in this foster care home, and you are trying to figure out like whose remains are those and like what actually happened to them when they were younger. So that's kind of like the big mystery.
Yeah, that was a perfect way of explaining it. Yeah, I knew that I would be like, ugh, hate the foster mother, and
Yeah.
that's really hard scenes to read because it's obvious in the description like child abuse happens. So if that's something
Mm-hmm.
that's like a trigger for somebody, like just be warned that
Yeah.
there are some really hard scenes, which was interesting to me because her writing for some reason feels very cozy to me, even
Mm-hmm.
though there's really dark aspects in it, and I
Yeah.
can't necessarily pinpoint like how that matches up.
I know. No, I totally get what you mean, and I agree. And I almost wanted to describe this book as like feeling kind of cozy, and I was like, but it's not cozy. Like that feels so wrong to say because I'm like, it's
No.
awful. Like the things happening in this book are
Yeah,
awful, but there's something about the writing that feels more like lighthearted somehow.
yeah. I can't place what it is. I don't know. Do they swear in it?
I know. I'm sure they do. I think they do.
Because like maybe it's the lack of like vulgar like, so they talk about disturbing things like sexual stuff too, but they don't like go into it as much. Like vulgar
Yeah.
is a really weird word, but do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I know. I'm
when
like, maybe it's more cozy because the accent is just so like pleasant to listen to that
yeah,
we're not really like realizing how like you know intense the content is because it's like the
yeah,
voice is so soothing.
yeah, it's very weird. I don't know. I think just like the disturbing scenes, like there are disturbing scenes, but some of them are like more, you know, covered and they don't show everything or like explain everything, you know, as
Right.
chill as like other thrillers. But it just, you're right, like the accent works. Maybe if I just read it without that, like maybe it'd feel darker.
Well, I think too the cozy feel probably comes from the fact that like it's kind of like a found family feel to the story in a way, because it's like these foster sisters kind of like coming together and like, protecting each other and looking out for each other. So that kind of also makes it feel cozy too, I think.
Yeah, and actually, I think because all of them are really likable except Miss Fairchild, it's like you care about all of them. Whereas a lot of times it's like an unlikable main character or like a morally ambiguous, like
that's true.
And all of these people are like wonderful people.
Yeah.
So even though like they have their issues, but like they're all likable.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Let me look at the comments. I read The Mother-in-Law and I like that one. I gave it 3 stars, just like The Soulmate. Okay. I gave 5 stars. I give my 5 stars away if I'm really invested. I need to do it more. Like every 5-star doesn't have to technically be like a masterpiece or like. I read The Younger Wife. I think that's by her. The Soulmate, and this one is my fave by her. Soulmate is the least. Oh, interesting. Pacing was good, but there definitely was parts I didn't care about. For me, those 3 stars were solely for the characters. They were well developed. Yeah, I actually really felt like I knew these people instead of sometimes in thrillers where it's like, oh, we have to meet like this caricature, and it's like really like, yes, all 3 of the sisters were different and they had their own struggles, but it made sense because they weren't biologically related and it was done in like a really natural way. It wasn't like one needs to be aggressive, one needs to be depressed. Like, you know what I mean? It was, I thought it was well done. I'm sorry you didn't like the rest of it though. Stars are just vibes. Yeah. I was surprised. I did not like The Soulmate, but I'm now interested in reading more. I was surprised too. How could you see that coming? Yeah, some people are really good at like twists. I hear foster care in a thriller, and I know it'll wreck me emotionally and make me rage against the foster care system. Yes, it is. It's rough. I'm glad they didn't go into all the trauma. Yeah. The narrator's voice was soothing. I agree. This was 5 stars. I'm glad. I think I need to look more into thriller books with a found family. Yeah, me too, honestly. That's like I guess a favorite trope for me that I didn't even put my finger on. But did you have a favorite sister to read from, like a POV or just like a favorite character, or were they all kind of equal?
I think they were all kind of even, but I think I did prefer Jessica's because I think she was like either she was the oldest or she was the one that was like the first one, right? Like that went in with the foster care mother, I think.
She was the first. I don't know if she was the oldest, but she basically was. Like even if she was the first.
She just had the interesting thing of like how she would like steal pills and like she's just kind of like I don't know, interesting in that way. But I feel like all 3 of the sisters were really like interesting in their own. Like they were very unique characters, and I feel like they were all kind of intriguing for different reasons.
Yeah, I actually couldn't really choose who I liked listening to the most because this never happens, but I was like equally interested in all of them.
Yeah.
Like there were parts of each one. Because another thing why it works so well is that they all came from different backgrounds. So you're learning about their backgrounds too. Yeah. So it's like so many things to uncover. And I think that's why it was so interesting. Like everybody had their own unique story. And yeah, I liked them all. But I get Jessica because she's almost like the main character. Like if there
she feels like she could be the main one. I felt so much too though for like Alicia with like her backstory with like her Grammy, and like that was like a really touching like backstory, and I feel like her character really like made me feel the most, I think, out of those 3.
And oh my gosh, the romance, which I don't want to like get spoiled yet. We'll go into spoilers soon, but it was so cute.
I know, I love that.
Oh and I usually don't like romances in thrillers or like romantic elements. They usually feel like they're just there for like no reason. This was I liked.
Yeah, me too.
I preferred Jessica. I think I preferred Alicia. I think Jessica was my least favorite sister. Nora has my temper. Yeah. The scenes where Nora just is like punching people is so funny.
I know, she was so like blunt and like straightforward, which I liked.
Yeah. I laughed at some of Nora's remarks. I know, so funny. And like also the dogs made me laugh, like the names of the dogs. I was like,
Yeah.
they were named after the first thing they like stole or ate or whatever.
Yeah, cute. I know, I love. It's so cute.
Alicia's POV was so sad. I know.
It was sad.
Nora was relatable. I don't know what that says about me. I mean, I feel like my favorite was Nora with an H. Yeah.
Mhm.
So funny. The romance worked because it didn't take over everything else.
Yeah, that's so true.
I could relate to Jessica regarding pills because I've got them prescribed for my anxiety and heart palpitations due to that. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Also, the way she like stole them and then was just like, I'll just give you like a free organization because she was like an interior organizer or whatever.
Mhm.
I thought that was so interesting too. Like thinking about when you grow up in chaos, like it makes a lot of sense for someone to, you know, like turn to organization for comfort. I thought that was super interesting.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else to say before we go into spoilers?
I know. I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
I guess I know that sometimes I do this at the end, but I think maybe we could do it now first and then at the end explain more. But like, do you have books you would recommend just with the vibes that aren't spoilers? Like for people
like one book that I just recently read that I feel like it kind of gave me a similar feeling to this one was Strange Sally Diamond by
Oh my gosh, yes, I love that.
I know, right? I just read it this month and it was like 5 stars for me. Like I loved Strange Sally Diamond so much. Like it was so good. And I just like I read this like right after that and then I was just kind of like, "Oh my god, they kind of gave me like a similar feeling in a way where it's like you're reading about something that's really awful happening to children in flashbacks, but it's like really interesting and like fascinating and I don't know, the characters really worked for me in both too. So
yeah, Strange Sally Diamond for me was way more disturbing and I don't know. I guess like did you listen to the audiobook?
I did, yeah.
I heard from some people that there's like stuff in the UK edition that's like in the audiobook that's different than the American version. I don't know if that's true, but I just heard there's like some scenes that are more disturbing. But that one fucked me up. Like, I was like not okay. Actually, I was just reading it and I was like the ride it took me on. Maybe that's why this wasn't 5 stars. That's a really good comparison I didn't think of, but like you're right.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I can't give this one 5 stars because this one didn't like get to me the way that Strange Sally Diamond got to me, and because they felt so similar, and I had just read them like back to back. I was like, well, this one's clearly 5 stars, but like this one, like I loved it, but it didn't give me quite that feeling.
Yeah, interesting. I wasn't fully sure what to say, like writing style wise. I feel like it kind of gives me Lisa Jewell vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
Your stuff is, I mean, actually, I've only read. Is it behind me? Yeah. None of this is true. Like this is actually the only one I've read, and I really liked it.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I need to read more. But it just gave me that like kind of cozy vibe. But there's stuff, but it's not like super. I don't know. Like it is super. But
I totally get what you mean. Yeah, I feel like Lisa Jewell does have a similar writing style where like her books feel cozy, but the content can be kind of dark.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Super fascinating. For some reason, this book reminds me of Lucinda Berry's stories. Yes, I love Lucinda, though. She's the queen of thrillers. Yeah, it also reminded me of The Perfect Child a little bit. That deals with like a troubled child. Did you read that one?
I did, yeah. I can see that, yeah.
What did you think of it? Did you like it?
I think I gave it like 4 stars. Yeah, I ended up liking that one a lot.
I think I did that too. That one also felt more like darker and but yeah, that totally makes sense. I need to read more Lucinda Berry stories. Okay, I'm going to go to spoilers. Of course, I'm looking for my spoiler button. Where did it go? There it is. It's after like so many things. Okay, so many spoiler things to talk about. I don't even really know where to start. So I guess we can start with what you've been holding back. Like, what have you been wanting to say that we couldn't say in the first?
Well, like one of the first things in this book that kind of surprised me was just finding out that Miss Fairchild was like still alive, like as an adult, you know,
Yes.
because like I was thinking the whole time that like the remains were gonna be her, you know,
Yeah.
like that's kind of where my mind was at, and I was like, oh, we're gonna find out how like they all killed the Miss Fairchild together, and like I thought it was gonna be this whole thing, and then when she just like walks in to the
Yeah.
interview as an adult, I was like, wait, what? Like she's alive? So then it kind of like threw my whole thing off, and I was like, then who are the
Yeah.
remains? And I was like super excited. So
I was so excited by that too. I was also just like, wait, did I miss something? Because
yeah,
no way that they just did this, you know?
yeah,
Like just putting that on. Because I was like, wouldn't they have been talking about how like Miss Fairchild is alive and like all that stuff? So yeah, that shocked me a lot. The other thing, and this is like way later on, but the other thing that shocked me was when it was revealed like Jessica gave Miss Fairchild like the heads up about everything that they had been talking about. And I was like, pissed. I mean,
I know.
but I was pissed. I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
What? It makes total sense. But that shocked me. So those were the two most shocking things. And then once because I was like you, I thought it was Miss Fairchild under the house. Then we find out she's alive. So then I was like, oh, it's Amy. Because Amy was the like, it's confusing because there's two Amy's, but the Amy joined the family. Like I thought, okay, it's her. Miss Fairchild killed Amy, which I think you're supposed to think. And then you learn at the end, it's like they're so convoluted, but like in a good way. Yeah.
I know. I couldn't believe Jessica did that. I felt such betrayal because I was like, I was rooting for you. Like you're here protecting your sisters. Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean you're just reporting to her? Like,
I do really like how the sisters reacted though, because they weren't mad. Like they actually were like, we understand. I feel like I can't say what I would feel if I was in that situation, but I would feel super betrayed. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like she tortured us. Like, and you. Yeah, I never thought that about it being her. I was just like, we're gonna get a scene where they like accidentally kill her, or maybe they like intentionally kill her, and then they have to bury her and their kids, so they do it in the house. So it's like the house, so it's like, you know, an amateur way to like bury a body.
Right.
I thought the same thing. Me too. When she walked in, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I never thought that because of Fairchild talking to the doctor, I knew she was alive. See, this is another thing I wanted to ask you. Did you know right away that it was Miss Fairchild?
Oh my God, no. And see, that was okay. In my notes, I literally wrote Jessica like talks to the therapist. I was thinking it was Jessica the whole time, and then I was like, wait, no, it's Nora. And then I was so confused. Like I had no idea that it was Miss Fairchild in like flashbacks. Like no clue.
I had no clue either, and I was like super happy I had no clue, because that is hard to do. I feel like it's always super obvious, and like I thought that was so cool. And we see her background and like why she turned out so evil, but also like you don't feel like I felt bad for the child, but I didn't feel bad for the adult, you know, repeating the abuse. But I just was like, oh my God. And then at the end, when you find out it's like her having her psych evaluation, and she said the guy like had a fetish or something for like mommy issues. I was like, oh,
I know, like what?
That's awesome. I was not. When did you figure out it was like Miss Fairchild instead of one of the sisters?
Like literally so late. Like so late. Like as late as it was like revealed. I was like, oh. Like I literally thought it was Jessica or Nora, and I was like trying to figure out which sister it was, because I was like, oh my God, like I thought for sure it had to be one of the three of them. So I kept like speculating my different thoughts of it, and I was like, wait, like they were pregnant when they were teen. I was like, how does this fit into like when they were living in the foster home? I was like getting so confused. And I was so flabbergasted. Like I had no idea.
I know. I started noticing that something was confusing about it, and I was like, who are we talking about? And I think I started slowly suspecting, like, I think once we found out about like the teenage pregnancy thing, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't like what I think. And then I kind of realized it, but it took me a while. Like I did not, I thought it was Jessica at first, and then I thought it was Nora. And then I was like, the other person, like I was so confused. It was done really well. Finding out Jessica was a rat was crazy. Yeah.
So crazy.
It took me a while to realize that the interviews were not Jessica, but Miss Fairchild, because it was always at the end of Jessica's chapter.
Yeah, because they weren't like separated. It was just like it was always in Jessica's chapters too, and that's why I always just assumed it was Jessica at first, and then I think it was included at the end of Nora's chapter, and then I was like, wait, it's Nora.
Super smart way to do that. Like the author knew what she was doing. She was a trickster. She was like, I got you. How old was Miss Fairchild? I was trying to figure that out too. Like, how old do you think she was when she had not had the girls, but like had the foster girls living with her?
I know. I don't know. She must have been like, I was imagining her like 30s or 40s. So then like when they were older, she must have been like 60s or 70s.
I was assuming that too for a little while. And then I realized maybe she was younger than what I thought, because she had the baby when she was a teenager. Yeah. And then she was like looking for a replacement or whatever. So she could have been like mid 20s to like late 20s, I feel. So then I was like, okay, so maybe it makes more sense that obviously her not being murdered as well, why she's alive, but also like maybe that makes sense why she's just like strolling in, like not like you're that old when you're in your like, I don't know. I just it changed things. It didn't change much, but it still changed my picture of her, because they said like she looked like a Barbie,
right?
All this stuff. So I was like, this is interesting. It was hard to pinpoint. Jessica still wanted Miss Fairchild's love and attention. Yeah.
I know, that's so sad.
How she was like hugging her in the present day, and she was like, I was always looking out for you, and like I knew. And I was like, ugh, gross.
Yeah. That's so sad.
I was shook that Jessica was also ratting. Yeah. I was wondering how she got rid of Amy so fast. What did you think about like why she got rid of what did you think for how Miss Fairchild knew to get rid of Amy?
I don't know. Like, honestly, that whole Amy storyline started to get a little bit confusing to me, because I was like, okay, there's like the doll Amy, right? I was like, there's a doll Amy, but then there's like a real Amy. But then like later on in the book when they find out, oh, it wasn't really Amy, it was like I don't know, it's all getting fuzzy in my head, because like that part of the storyline I was like, wait, what?
No, you're good. It was confusing. So since I just read it, basically you meet Amy and she tells the kids, I adopted her. I think she's like 2 or something, or 1. And so she's like the Amy you first are introduced to. And then they go down in the basement and then they find a doll named Amy. And as soon as they found that, I was like, oh my gosh, does she have a doll for like each kid she has? Like I was like a horror type thing.
Right.
And then you find out finally in the flashback chapters that Amy was actually her child when she was pregnant as a teen. And then at the end, you find out that was a lie. She actually wasn't pregnant, and it was her own mother's child with this new husband, and she was like jealous of Amy, and so she ends up murdering Amy.
Yeah, so then
I was just a different Amy.
The initial Amy ended up being that girl Zara or whatever, right? Like the other girl, like she just changed her name to Amy to confuse us.
Yes, and also I was like, who is Zara? Like I did not.
No, me too. That was a weak part for me, because I was like, when they said, oh, Zara is Amy, I was like, who the fuck is Zara? Like, what are we talking about?
I was really confused. I was like, did I miss this Zara chick? Like, what? Yeah.
I knew Rhiannon, right? I thought Rhiannon was like a temporary other foster sister, and then something happened with her. But then Zara, I was like, who? Like, what?
I know.
was thrown by that.
Very confusing. What did you think of the plot twist? Like, did you like all of this, or would you have changed anything? Like,
I really liked most of the plot twists and everything happening at the end. Like, I loved the final chapter. Oh my god, I did not see, like, I was kind of like, oh, like Miss Fairchild, like I feel kind of sympathy towards her, like, because she had this rough time, and then the final chapter is just like, no, psych, I actually was never pregnant, and it was actually my mom, and I fucking killed her baby, and I was like, oh my god, like, I don't know, I like love a final chapter that can like surprise me like that, like, because it's like you get to the end of the book and you think everything's resolved and everything's figured out, and it's usually like the final chapter is just like, and then they all lived happily ever after, and then it's like, I love a thriller like this where it just like completely flips the story on its head, and like everything you thought you knew was a lie. Like, I think that's interesting.
I loved it. I was like, yes. Because I was like,
Right.
she had to have murdered someone. I was like, there's
Yeah.
no way she didn't.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, okay, I guess she didn't, but she's evil anyway. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, yes, of course. The only thing I was surprised about too was I was suspecting that like all the babies they had were gonna like they were gonna find more dead babies or something.
Oh,
I thought
yeah, I
maybe
know.
like
I thought, yeah, maybe there could be more, like, she had been taking in foster kids and, like, somehow, like, killing them, like,
yeah,
suspiciously, like, making their deaths suspicious so that it wouldn't be obvious on her. Yeah,
yeah,
I was thinking
yeah.
that too.
There were so many options.
Mhm.
I definitely thought it was one of the sisters talking. Yeah. I've seen this done before, so that's why it didn't surprise me at all. Yeah,
Oh.
it's hard when it's something has been done before and you've read it before, so then the second time it's not gonna like
Right.
impact as much usually. What did y'all think about Miss Fairchild lying about having an abusive childhood? I was shook she was just jealous of her mom. Yeah.
Yeah, shocking.
We touched on that because I was behind on comments, but yeah, I mean, I still I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess it was revealed that she really just didn't have anything bad happen.
Mm-mm. She was just, like, a shit person from day one.
That's so, I mean, her mother sounded kind of neglectful, but maybe that was also just her, like, because a lot of young kids actually, when there's a new baby, feel jealous because it's
Yeah.
like there's a new member of the family. So,
Well, and she, like, even admitted in that last chapter that, like, that guy John, like, her mom's boyfriend, wasn't even actually abusive towards her.
yeah,
Like, she had built this whole story of, like, how, "Oh my god, he trapped me in the basement while I was pregnant," and, like, all of that was a fucking lie, and then, like, you were
yeah,
just actually jealous. She ended up killing the baby, and then, like, her mom covered it for her because she's, like,
that
trying to
was
protect her.
weird.
Yeah, like, what?
I don't get that. Like,
Yeah,
what?
I know. Like, trying to protect her,
That
but, like,
happened.
she
Yeah,
crazy, like
that happened in another book that I recently read, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Like that
Yeah.
aspect. Like, what? Why would you do that? Like,
Yeah, like, as
I,
a parent, like, yeah, you go to such lengths to protect your children, but also, like, when your child murders your other child,
yeah,
I
it's
think
like
that's kinda like, "Oh."
also your other child. Like, it's not like they murdered. Like,
Yeah.
even though it would be terrible if they murdered someone else,
Yeah,
but
but you
like
look
they
literally
murdered.
your child. Like, your baby.
That is wild.
Damn.
The doll Amy made me think all the traumas got to the sister's head, and Amy was actually real. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Did
thought
you?
Miss Fairchild was trying to, like, confuse them, like, I thought she had introduced Amy as, like, a real person, and then, like, I thought she, like, killed Amy and took her away and then gave her a doll, and then she was trying to act like, "Oh, she wasn't here at all, like, she was always this doll, like, y'all are just crazy." Like, I
Yeah.
thought that's what she was trying to do.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting. And also the whole reveal about like the neighbor guy who worked at the stables, how like
Yeah.
because he was getting like blackmailed or something, and then all
Yeah.
those things. Like I like that reveal too. Um,
Mhm.
super. This was just such an interesting book.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
There's so many layers to it, like, it was so complex.
yeah, yes, definitely mentally ill, narcissistic, and then probably multiple different like other diagnoses on top of that.
Yeah.
Since they got rid of Zara, she had a new family and a new name. Yes.
Mhm.
So Miss Fairchild was fostering just to be abusive on purpose. Yes, and also she wanted like that unconditional love or whatever,
Right.
where the child only needed her and like didn't need anyone else. But then she kept like having it for a second and then not getting it, and so she'd like try to replace
Yeah.
that. It was like a
It's more
cycle.
about control for her, for sure.
Yeah. I knew she was going to be Amy because the babies came to meet the detective so naturally. I was like, one of those will definitely be Amy. Yeah. That was interesting too, like the whole babies scene.
Mhm.
Was she in that group, I guess, maybe? Or
I
was that?
know. Well, that's what I mean, I feel like Zara, her character was mentioned, like, one time, and then it was like, "Oh, she's Amy," so it was just, like, she didn't stick in my head, I guess.
I feel like I would have wanted, I don't know, maybe it would have been too much, but it would have been cool to get a perspective from her too.
Mhm.
But I guess the perspective would just be like looking for Miss Fairchild or whatever.
Mhm.
So I guess because she didn't probably remember her time there because she was so young.
Right.
Did Mrs. Fairchild somehow manipulate the doctor who was interviewing her? Yes.
I mean, she lied to the therapist, yeah.
And also he was like into it. Like
Mhm.
they implied he had a fetish. So
Yeah, Scott was
that was
disgusting.
creepy.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think Miss Fairchild was born evil. Yeah, for sure. I think she fostered children because she wanted to love someone to love her unconditionally and need her.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe a follow-up novella about Miss Fairchild and why her mother covered up the murder. That'd be
I'd
a
be
good.
into it.
Yeah, I would read that for sure.
Mhm.
There really was so much going on in this book. It was such a good book, so complex. Yeah,
Mhm.
and oftentimes when there's too much going on or like a lot going on, it's sometimes like convoluted in a bad way, but this
Yeah.
was good. Like it was actually every layer was interesting.
Yeah, it had the
And
perfect balance of like not too many characters so that you're like overwhelmed, but like enough point of views and like,
yeah.
flashbacks to like keep it interesting.
Mhm.
Did you have a preference with like the present day or like the flashbacks, like which sections
Mhm.
you liked reading more?
It's hard. I would say ultimately the flashbacks, but
Yeah.
also like I was super interested in the present. Did you?
Yeah, I know. I think I like the flashbacks too. Like there was just something so fascinating reading about like their day to day, like what was going on with them, and like I liked reading when they would like try to do like the horseback riding, and then like they ended up getting in
Yeah,
trouble for it, and like it was just so interesting always reading about like what was happening with them.
I agree. It almost felt like I could see it as a movie,
Mm-hmm.
and like this script would transfer
Yeah.
very well to film,
Mm-hmm.
or like not even a movie, like a TV show or something.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I could see it too.
yeah, and like the whole just so many gross scenes. Like the
Yeah.
way she did her abuse was really clever, which was even creepier to me
Yeah.
because she was like she could write off everything as like, oh, like I was teaching the kid how to swim, or like I
Right.
was like the kid kicked me and that's why I dropped the kid, or like all these
Right.
things. And it was
Yeah.
so
She
creepy
was like
and
sneaky with her abuse.
yes, it
Yeah.
was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And gross to read about. I think the scene that stuck with me a ton was like the swimming scene and then like the soap scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say the soap in the mouth scenes, like those were, oh, yeah, those stuck with me
Oh,
too.
and then
Yeah.
the fact that that was a thing people used to do. I'm just like that is
Yeah.
so sad. And also like she really took it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I mean, obviously it's always cruel, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. She like was basically choking the child.
Oh, for sure.
And she was just unbothered. She was like, it's fine, it's normal.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I forgot. And the scene with the beans, that actually may have been the worst for
The
me.
beans?
Do you remember that?
I'm
She
trying to
like,
remember.
so which kid was it? I don't remember. It was the youngest one, I want to say. So was that Alicia, the one who came?
Yeah, Alicia.
Oh, yeah. Because she had the grandmother and she got there. And remember how Miss Fairchild like barely fed them?
Oh, yeah.
Super hungry. And she was like commenting on her weight, like, you need to lose weight, like super abusive.
Yeah.
And then she like snuck down one night and like got food from the cupboard, like and ate the cornflakes. And then like the next day, Miss Fairchild was like, you were eating like an animal. I guess you just want to eat like an animal. And then she like pours the beans on the floor and she's like, you need to eat it off the floor.
Oh, that's
Like
right. That's right.
nothing. That made me so upset. Like that
Yeah.
whole scene, that is just so, it's just so cruel and
Yeah.
so many ways. Oh my God.
I
Ugh.
hated the way they like gave her shit for like how much she would eat or like she would be eating too
Yeah,
much or whatever. Like I hated that so much.
I know. And I just imagining like a kid not having enough food. It's like your
Yeah.
basic human right. Like to be
Yeah.
pushed, it's
Yeah.
just, it's so, that was so sad. And how the kids did that thing with the homework, like to get money and then they would like, use it for food and like all this stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I know,
I
I
thought
like the flashback chapters too, because it's like as hard as they were to read because of like the abusive stuff that was happening, I also just liked seeing like the sisters like bonding and getting closer and kind of like, making this like devotion to each other, kind of being like, we're gonna protect each other, we're gonna look out for each other. Like I just really liked seeing them kind of bond in that way.
I did too. It was very like heartwarming in a weird way.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite aspects of the book because I was like, I loved like the sister relationships they had with each other, like, even though they were only foster sisters. Like, I just really love how they like wanted and actually tried to look out for each other. Like, I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, it would make a good TV series, right?
I think so.
I'd watch the movie. I think it'd work better for me. Yeah. Oh, throwing Amy in the pool and her almost drowning.
Yeah.
Yes. and the soap scene was traumatic for me. I had that done. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That is so sad.
I know, what the heck.
Eating the beans off the floor. Yeah. So yeah, that scene was definitely one of the worst. Super disgusting, disturbing scenes, which is
Yeah.
I keep saying it's so weird that it was like cozy.
Yeah.
Those scenes weren't cozy, but like overall, it feels cozy, you know. What did you think about, I think it was Jessica's like husband. They had like kind of an estranged marriage, and then afterward they like wrote each other letters, and then I think they had she was like pregnant, and then she faced Miss Fairchild actually while she was pregnant, and she kind of held that over her head, like she wasn't going to say anything. What did you think about like that wrap up with Jessica?
I honestly like could barely remember what happened with Jessica at the end of that, so I'm glad you wrapped it up for me.
Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, it's one of those things that's so easy to forget. I just remember because I literally just read it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting though. The only thing I remember about the wrap up at the end was when Alicia, right, ended up being with that girl that was the other like social worker.
Yeah,
Or
her name never stuck with me because I never saw it written.
I know, I can't remember what the name was. But I thought that was so sweet because I was like, oh my God, like, and then the way she was like trying to like take in those kids, right, like Aaron and Theo, because she was like trying to like, I thought that storyline was really beautiful and sweet too. So like, I love that Alicia ended up getting like her happy ending and with all of that. I thought that was really nice.
I know, it was so cute. Yeah, she adopted the 2 kids.
Yeah, I love that.
I also found it like really shocking that she went into like social work. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it makes sense, but also at the same point, like, wow, you have to live your trauma and like see it in other people.
Right. Like maybe she just felt like she needed to like help other kids who could have been in like similar situations. But yeah, like I can't imagine experiencing that trauma all the time still.
Yeah, literally. Jessica's husband seemed to enable her too much, but I'm glad he finally said something. Yeah, I thought that he just loved her so much and didn't know how to deal with it, because it's like, what do you do in that situation? Like, they were going to therapy, and then she was like, well, it's just normal to like love your sisters more.
Yeah.
And then finally at the end, she was like, no, your family too. Like, you know, so I liked it a lot. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't like he ended up being like this evil partner or something. That would have been like much. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I thought her husband was so sweet and understanding for her trauma. Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is I feel like he should have said something about like her pills. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
She was showing like signs of addiction because that's dangerous, and obviously it was for her. She like almost died.
Right.
So
yeah, that's right.
Maybe she thought because she lived the trauma, she would be better equipped to recognize it in others. Probably. I'm glad Jessica got help for taking all those pills. Yes, I was like, she better not die. It's like, I was going to be really sad.
I know. I almost thought for a minute when I was saying she like overdosed or something. I was like, wait. Like, no.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming. I thought she would have like, I get why they did it though. And then Miss Fairchild like shows up at the hospital like, bye.
I know. Like, no, not allowed.
Simply leave us alone for once. Yeah. And then also Nora ended up with that other guy that she knew as a kid who like gave her chocolate or something. That was cute too.
That was sweet.
That was like the relationship I remembered the least about. It was more like mostly Alicia and then a little Jessica.
Yeah, me too, because Nora was getting like blackmailed the whole book by that other man that she went on a date with.
That was so sad, like how she was talking about how everything was like transactional because of like her abuse as a child, and like I feel like she went through multiple terrible foster homes, and I think that was a good point though, because it makes sense kind of why she wanted to stay in this terrible situation, because it's like every situation had been terrible for her, but now she had these like sisters. So I thought that was done well, like why they didn't get help sooner. I was surprised that Miss Fairchild didn't like, well, I'm trying to remember actually, were they removed from Miss Fairchild after they got help?
I know, I can't remember exactly like what ended up happening there when they were, I can't remember the falling out of it.
I think they were moved to a community home together or something. but
Mm-hmm.
there was too much else going on that I didn't.
Well, that was part of why it was so heartbreaking because like they didn't want to report her or get her in trouble because they didn't want to be separated. And I'm like, that's just so sad that like that's a factor that these kids have to think about, even though like their lives have already been, destroyed in a lot of different ways, and now they're just like wanting to hang on to each other. Like I thought that just made it even more sad.
I know that was heartbreaking. It was crazy reading her drinking like 4 to 5 pills. Only one pill makes you woozy on your feet and sleepy, let alone 5. Yeah, I don't have experience with that, but I believe it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
was scary. I was like, don't do that. This was a good book on childhood trauma and how each adult eventually overcame it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They went to a new home together at least. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't ever cover much more with that. I think that's why it's so like hazy.
Yeah.
Obviously they must have gone to a good home, I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say anything after that, but do you remember how old they were over this story, like in the flashbacks?
I don't remember specifically, but I think they were like pretty young. Like I don't even think they were with her when they were like teenagers still. I think they were really young when it happened.
Yeah, because I don't know why I was imagining, like, obviously Jessica did get older because you
Mhm.
learn about like when the other sisters come in, but like when all the sisters are together, I feel like Jessica was no older than like 13.
Yeah, I think they
so-
were all younger than 13, yeah.
And like the way they had to take care of these like babies. Oh my God,
Mhm.
it's just so horrible. Like,
I know.
stay home from school.
Yeah, and the way like Miss Fairchild would like intentionally just go in there to try to wake up the baby and get it screaming just so they would have to like all wake up and take care of it. Like
I
it's
cannot,
crazy.
that's so wild to me.
Mhm.
Yes, they went to a new home together at least. Yes, I'm so glad. They were 11 and 12. Okay, that makes sense. I think they went into a group home together and aged out so they wouldn't get separated. I don't think they ever went back into a foster home. Okay, yeah, I remember it was like a group home situation.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything we haven't covered. I feel like we covered most everything. Was
Yeah,
there
I think
anything else you were thinking of saying? I'm just looking at my notes to see if I
I don't think so. Yeah,
I
I think
guess
we covered everything I wanted to mention.
the last thing I would mention is like how Miss Fairchild got away with it was interesting because she had that guy named like Scott helping her. So
Yeah.
they never really explained why they knew each other, I don't think, or like who this Scott guy is. Like,
Yeah. He was just like super creepy and like gross towards Nora especially.
yeah. And then he also helped get like the baby.
Yeah.
He stole the kids from the parents, which was heartbreaking too. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott was just as much of a villain as Miss Fairchild for sure.
Yeah, I think he actually got more like prison time than her or something,
Mhm.
which is, yeah. I mean, I guess he technically did more crimes than her, but still, like, they were both evil. So,
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for reading this with me. It was so fun.
Yeah.
I am like
Thanks for
really
having me.
surprised at the same rating, basically. Like,
I know.
like
How exciting.
good. Of course. Yes. So Listen for the Lie Tomorrow is for the book troop, Gabby's book club. I am one of the co-hosts for that as well. So I
Yes.
should have linked that in the description. It's on
Oh,
Gabby's
yeah.
channel already scheduled. So if you head over to her channel, you'll see it there. But I'm excited for that as well.
Yes.
Scott was just a social worker. Oh yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
That's right. He got money. Okay.
Messed up.
Disgusting. Is there anything else you want to talk about, like Summerween or anything coming up?
I know. No, Summerween's coming up in like less than a week. Like this upcoming Friday will be Summerween, so it's exciting.
I know, so much fun stuff.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I see you all tomorrow on Gabby's channel. And
Yes.
thank you all for hanging out. And I will talk to you all later.
Yes,
Bye.
thanks. Bye.